Welcome to CB News. Over the past few decades, we've seen the rise in the popularity of a Korean phenomenon called Hallyu, or in other words, the Korean wave. We've also seen many attempts of non-Koreans or foreigners attempting to break into the scene but without much success. Why is that? Today in CB News, we are here to discuss some possible factors. We argue that it will be difficult, if not impossible, for solo foreign artists to penetrate the Korean music market, but they may achieve success through participation in a group. This is due to the demand of conforming to Korean culture at all times because of several factors. First, Korea is desensitized to foreign cultures, therefore racism or ethnocentrism poses a problem. Second, distinct facial beauty standards are an essential component of the idol package. And third, the harsh conditions of idol upbringing and management resonates within the context of Korean culture. These factors forces trainees and idols to surrender their cultural identities and personality to conform to the Korean culture. Korea, which had proudly seen itself as mostly a mono-ethnic society, has created barriers to foreign competition in terms of becoming K-pop idols. In essence, we are claiming that racism is a big reason why we don't see many foreign idols. We looked at some academic articles and videos that try to explain the overt racism in South Korea. First, we'll present our findings and then follow up with our analysis. According to an article written by Myonggu and William A. Douglas, they claim that although Confucianism as an official state philosophy has ended many decades ago, its teachings still permeate today. For example, the Ageism and Sexism in Korea. Older people are more respected relative to the young, and men hold higher social statuses than do women. Put those together and a brief hierarchical spectrum that ranges from young females to older males can be made. So when a family is eating, the older males will be served first and initiate the eating before everybody else. In a separate article written by Zoltan Jambor, he talks about how, quote, foreigners and mixed racial children are not considered as part of the normal sphere of Korean society, end quote, and that implies that they have a lower social status than the youngest of Korean females. Kim Sookyung of Stanford University has linked racism to Korea's strong central ethnic nationalism. She says that Korea is, quote, considered one of the least likely countries to welcome ethnic diversity into their society. A form of discrimination we found was where foreign teachers in Korea are required by law to do an HIV test, whereas the local teachers do not require one. To put two and two together, we think that the traditions and values that Koreans have, coupled with their strong and yielding ethnic nationalism, led to a barrier to entry for foreigners to the K-pop scene. Here are some examples.
What was your first impression when you all first met each other?
When I first saw V and J-Hope, I couldn't see them because they were too black.
Our second point argues that foreigners must conform to distinct Korean facial beauty standards in order to be successful. As previously mentioned, Korea had proudly seen itself as mostly a mono-ethnic society and developed a strong sense of nationalism within the country. Lee Hae-gyun agrees and states that, quote, the idea of K-culture evokes an essentialist and nationalist view that sees Korean culture as both an imprint and carrier of Korean people's distinct spirit, identity, and character, end quote. Shim has also defined that, quote, true Korean beauty as something exclusive and unique that arouses a distinctive identity of Korean culture, end quote. Since beauty in K-pop is an essential contemporary component of the Korean culture, we believe that even K-pop idols' faces are a way of expressing nationalism and distinctive Korean identity toward other countries. It is difficult for foreigners to gain success in K-pop simply because they lack the facial features that would resemble them as Korean. Thus, it would be difficult for them to be accepted and gain popularity. The uniqueness of Korean faces can be clearly proven in a report by Ri et al. They morphed various faces of famous Korean male and female entertainers together and created a composite face of super attractive Korean man and woman. Ri et al. Has also made a composite face of attractive Caucasian faces. As we can see here, there aren't many commonalities between the two. The ideological Korean beauty should portray innocence, white skin, thin nose, large double eyelids, and V-shaped jaw. Therefore, the face features that Koreans look for in an idol are distinctive and uniquely defined, where it would be hard to be found in foreigners. Another example to solidify our idea would be the Miss Korea Beauty Pageant contest in 2013. From the GIF, we can see that all Miss Korea contestants look rather similar. We are not certain whether this is a result of common plastic surgeries that all contestants had or the result of nationalistic judges picking identical, super attractive Korean faces to represent Korea. However, we are certain with one point. Without conforming to the beauty facial standards, such as undergoing plastic surgery, it is extremely difficult for foreigners to become successful in K-pop because of the strong nationalistic spirits in Korea. The Korean work culture was known to be highly stressful with high rates of mental and physical health problems, which is no different than the idol training system. The trainee system is rarely found outside of Korea, even in neighboring countries like China and Japan. Even after years of training, many drop out due to not being able to persist or unable to improve in the monthly evaluations. The trainee system has been recognized by many because of its rigorous nature and intensity. Besides the difficult nature of trainee life, foreign trainees have to learn to conform to the Korean culture, which is basically a new life. Many foreign trainees stay in Korea alone without any family support. Ex-EXO member Tao is an example.
不会说话，点不了饭。你想跟别人说什么东西，你没法跟别人交流。也包括你要学跳舞啊，你要或者和成员在一起，你没法沟通的话，就特别难受。
According to Oh In-gyuen Park, quote, idol education includes singing, dancing, and acting abilities in addition to the harsh physical training to sculpt upper body muscles and or maintain the glamorous feminine body shape, also known as the S-line. Facial or other cosmetic surgeries and strict dietary control to maintain desired weight ranges are part of the training packages, which are all paid for by producers, end quote. In an article by Cha and Kim, SM Entertainment claimed that, quote, vigorously produced scientific idol system is the essential base of entering into global market, end quote. The idol training system dates all the way back to the 1980s, when Kim Won-sun was discovered by her aunt, Han Baek-hee, at the age of 14 and was intensely trained in ballet and gymnastics. This example from class talked about how her aunt controlled every aspect of her life. Han did not let Kim go to school, have friends, or talk to other musicians. Her, too, was not allowed to see her parents for 3 years after she started training. This led to her eventual forfeit of the music industry, and she went to Hawaii by herself to pursue design. Next up, we invited 2 ex-trainees to chat with us. First is an ex-SM trainee, Neil Hannigan, who was a trainee at SM Entertainment for 2 years. The other guest is Sarah Wolfgang, who was an ex-trainee ready to debut with Tahiti, but quit after 2 years of training. Thank you. So, alright, let's dive right into the questions. First off, what made you want to leave?
Basically, SM is debuting a new boy group soon, and many of the guys, including myself, didn't get picked. So, I guess that's the biggest reason why I left. Also, I've heard that there's a lot of girls harming themselves as well. So, it's not the healthiest environment here.
Thank you so much. Alright, our first question is, what made you leave?
It was more of a progression thing. They told me to go home and prepare for my second album. And as soon as I got home, I developed an unhealthy relationship with food. So later I went to the doctor and he told me that I was diagnosed with eating disorder. So my parents and I came to the conclusion that taking part of K-pop industry was ruining my body and mind. So they opted to help me get out.
Well, that's really harsh to learn that some other trainees may be going through this. Our next question is, what were some of the rules that you had?
We weren't allowed to have cell phones, relationships, allowances, and was put on a diet that consisted of heavy exercise or eating salad or sweet potato.
Alright, thank you so much for coming in to chat with us today.
You're welcome.
There were 3 factors of Korean culture that we've discussed today. First, Koreans have a strong sense of ethnic nationalism and still engage in traditions that put foreigners and non-pure Koreans at a disadvantage. Second, Koreans hold a high expectation of beauty standard, which makes it difficult for non-Koreans to break into the market as a solo artist if there are no Korean looks to back up the group. And third, the difficult conditions of idol upbringing forces many trainees to forego their identity in order to debut. The process alone is harsh, which is a very off-putting factor. Thank you for tuning in to CB News, and I'll see you next time.
All I wanna do is kick it with you. 넘어가죠